Marci Bowling. I am originally from Midland, Odessa, Texas. I've been living in DFW now for like 6 years, and I'm currently in North Richland Hills.
And just curious, how did you get started doing cosplay?
So I would say like actually my first introduction to cosplay, I was watching TV one day and I saw a show, and it was, oh my gosh, what was that Yaya Han show? It was Cosplayer.
Oh yeah, Heroes of Cosplay or something like that.
And I was watching it and I was like, oh my god, is this a real thing? Like, you know, it didn't seem real to me, but I was just like, okay, that's cool, it looks fun. I was always like in theater and stuff, and so then like I don't know, a little bit later we moved to DFW, and I was talking to one of my coworkers and she was like, oh yeah, this weekend I'm going to Comic-Con. And I was like, hold up, like, is that a real thing? Like, I had no idea, like, because I'm from a pretty small town. And so she was like, oh yeah, so she told me about it. And that year they happened to have like a free day for the fan days, and so I went, and like just to like hang out, and I dressed up all to the nines because I'm expecting it to be like all dudes and like, you know, like geeks and whatever, and they're gonna be like, oh look, a girl.
Yeah.
And so I was like, got all decked out and whatever, and then I get there and there's like all the cosplayers and they're like, you know, little superhero whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, this is, and nobody's paying attention to me. But I just thought it was so much fun. I was just like looking everywhere and everybody just looked so amazing, and I got to see some of the community and it was so awesome. And I went home that night and immediately started planning my first cosplay, because I was like, I have to do this. Like, I have to be a part of this. It's so much fun.
For cosplay, some people do it for different reasons. You have people that are makers, crafters, you have people who like to perform, be the character. Within crafters, you have people who sew, people who do foam, people who do warbler, all this different stuff. I feel for you, you've kind of changed, and you've been one of those rare cosplayers that evolves from medium to medium. But for you, how do you see yourself? Is there any one category you like best, or not really?
I would say I'm definitely a maker. I buy as little of my cosplay components as possible. A lot of that is due to being a plus size cosplayer. It's very difficult for me to find pieces in more of like the clothing department type of thing. So I have really kind of been forced to create everything for myself, and even patterns have to be created myself. I can get a basics off of something, but then I'm doing everything almost from scratch. I learned to sew from my grandmother, actually, when I was really young, and so sewing is my go-to. So I consider myself mostly a seamstress. But I really do try to branch out and try all the different little components. I think one of the only things I haven't tried to do yet is 3D printing. I'm so scared of the technology of it. I'm not a computer person. But I have done even like some computer design, as far as like some embroidery, or my newest thing I've done is like Cricut design. I am definitely most proud of my foam work, because I feel like it's the most difficult, I guess, for me. Like, some people, I guess because I already know how to sew, like consider that to be more difficult, but the foam is like so different than what I've done before. So to me, that's the most complicated. So, like my Zarya is definitely the one I'm most proud of. It's the biggest, baddest.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge for
and
sure.
It's a video game character, which
Yes.
are notorious for being, the human characters aren't remotely the same actual dimensions as human beings, and
Yeah.
those are notoriously hard.
That was one of the hardest things for me to wrap my mind around, was trying not to make it as realistic as I wanted to, like having to force myself to put the video game dimensions into human dimensions, because I kept thinking, no, it's like the pieces aren't big enough, they're not big enough. But the first time I tried to wear my original breastplate, like, I couldn't move my arms, and like I couldn't even like scratch my nose because I was like, I couldn't reach around and whatever. And like immediately that night just went out and just took my knife and just started carving pieces off of it, because I was like, it's not wearable. Like you
Right.
have to be able to live and move and actually like exist in this armor, and so you have to get that like level of realism in it, which sometimes can be really difficult, but no, I love Zarya. She's so badass.
One thing that has surprised me about you is that you're a gamer and have been so, it sounds like, before you started cosplay. And for me, I always thought gamers were introverted people that didn't really want to be out in public places,
Right.
maybe kind of seemed a little bit mousier, just didn't take pride in their appearance. And you're the antithesis to all of that. Like, you're very outgoing, but you have played games. You are a gamer. And just kind of what's your perception on that? About, does it seem like you're one of a kind gamer wise, or no?
I don't think really most gamers, I mean, you can't put any category of people like all in a box, but there are some gamers that are like the never leave the house type, absolutely. And to be honest, when I really first started getting into gaming, I was that person. Like, gosh, I was about to say 10 years ago, but I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say how many years ago that was. When I first started playing, World of Warcraft was probably the biggest thing I've ever been into for the longest period of my life. When I was first really into that, and the longest period, I didn't really have any friends on the outside. All of my closest companions were in the game, and that's where I got most of my like emotional contact, was through that, and my physical contact with the world was through work, but all of my life was in that game. And it probably really wasn't until I became a cosplayer that I was able to branch out from that and find those friends on the outside world that had those similar interests. And I think that's part of it, was like those were the only people that I knew that were into the same type of things that I was into. So I just didn't have that circle of friends at the time. But I've met those people through cosplayers, and so many people, and through those people got into new fandoms. I really consider myself to be in some ways the more new geek girl,
Mm-hmm.
because I was never into comic books, or I didn't grow up watching pretty much any type of anime. I never, anything like that. But I have learned it now. I've discovered this whole new world outside of video games and outside of cosplay, and just been slowly learning these new fandoms, and it's a whole new world. And I've actually now that I see that there's more people and I know how to connect with them because I'm familiar with more things, I have, I guess, become more outgoing, less introverted, knowing that there's more out there to want to be a part of.
Another thing I didn't know about you until recently was that you have also worked in the Disney World park at some point.
Yes.
And it seems like for cosplayers, that's like a dream job. Like, that's a place where they could dress up, although I'm sure it's very competitive for the dress up roles.
Oh my gosh, so much.
But what can you just tell us about that experience?
That was absolutely like one of the best things I've ever done. I was there for like less than 6 months. I don't remember exactly how long. I called it a working vacation, so it was like the best thing. So me and some friends like actually kind of like rented a house together and worked there after college. So it was like 2007, and like I couldn't stay very long because they don't pay a whole lot, but it was so magical working there. So I got to work at Cinderella's Castle, which had never been there, so I didn't know was a restaurant when they told me. So at Cinderella's Castle, so when you first come in, it's kind of like a dinner theater type of place. You get to take your picture with Cinderella.
Aww.
And so my main job was to take reservations, and then I would let people in and introduce them to Cinderella. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was the best thing. It was so much fun, and like we had little things like there was these chimes on the wall, and you would have to like play a little tune on the chimes, and then you would like, when it's time for people to go to their table, you would like announce their names. Like, I don't remember how exactly it went, but it was something like, Lord and Lady Smith, Cinderella has invited you to their table or something. But you had to like play this like little song and then like announce it all royally, and it was so much fun. We gave all like the little boys like a little sword, and the girls got a little magic wand. And so I got to give them that, and I would get in like little sword fights with the kids and stuff like that. And so like your job is to provide magic to the kids like all the time, so like you never get in trouble for like playing too much with the kids, which was amazing.
Speaking to you as a member of a group called Studio Misfit Cosplay, what can you tell us about the group?
I love our group so much because we are just like such like a random assortment of people, and we just all bring something different to the table. Like we all have so many different types of interests. There's certain things that bring us together, like I think it's funny, like My Little Pony was one of the first things that really kind of brought us together. But then like we like things like Dungeons and Dragons, and we like to play together, and a lot of us, like some of us are into the super girly, and like me, I love sparkles and girly stuff. But then like we do something like Nightmare Before Christmas, like Burton type, you know, we've done several Burton-esque type things. And so then like I have like the Oogie Boogie, and that is something that would have never happened on my own.
Yeah,
I would have never have chosen something like that, but that inspiration from my group of friends really encouraged me to do something that was very, very out there for me, like not showing my face, not being like the cutesy girly type, being more of like the scary thing. That's not normal for me, but it was so much fun, and it was so different than what I've done before. And I love how supportive we all are of each other, and there's, with so many different, age groups that we have and levels of experience, and we can give each other all this advice and support, and none of us are, we don't judge each other for different things, and it just really, so much of what we've done has really taught me how to be the best friend that I can be, and how to be I don't know, it changed my definition of friends, because as an adult, until I really kind of met this group of friends, I didn't have that group of friends. I still thought of friends being more that kind of catty type you had in high school, where everybody judged you and you were pretending, and now
you're in competition with one another.
What? That may not be my thing, but girl, you do you. Be proud of who you are, stand up for yourself, and you have so many people having your back, and I love that. I love that some of my girlfriends that may not be the super girly type can still step up and just be like, that's amazing, and help me to do those things.
So Marci, I know you and I are both plus size cosplayers, and we've kind of gone over that. As far as building costume, it makes it so much harder because stuff doesn't come ready in your size. But also, when you do put together a cosplay that you're very proud of, it took you just as much technical work as someone else, despite what side, right, what they look like. Photographers have a bias, as all people do, this unconscious bias that they don't, as a plus size, you don't get the focus, you hardly get pictures taken, there is a lot less of the spotlight if you're plus size, and that's just due to your size alone. How does that make you feel, or what have you encountered?
It is really hard. There are sometimes it definitely shuts me down. I've almost gotten to the point, except for a few photographers that I'm friends with now, if a photographer has never asked me for my photo, I can't bring myself to ask them, and we could be in a group of friends, they can approach us and say, hey, come take a photo to one of my other friends that's with me, and everybody else will just kind of line up, expecting, I'm going to be next because we're all part of the same group. And even then, if you haven't directly acknowledged me, I don't even have the nerve at that point to say, hey, can I go next? Because I'm just so used to being ignored, or I've had times in a situation like that where I have had my picture and it never gets posted or something, and I'm just what's the point? I don't want to continue that, put myself in that situation, so I wait to be asked, and that doesn't happen. And I get to a certain degree, yeah, I don't look like the little superhero girl on the front of your comic book or whatever, but I just, it aggravates me that matters to people so much, and it definitely affects the decisions that I make just in who I pick as my characters to cosplay. I tend to gravitate towards characters that translate the best towards my figure. So I might be more likely to do something that was a cartoon character that has no human shape. So it's not, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with being skinny or plus size or anything like that. Or I pick characters that are already bigger. My very first character that I did, Molly Weasley, that was one of the reasons that I picked her, was like, she's already curvy, she's older, so you don't have to worry about that, the sexy look, that's not what you're going for. And like a lot of it, like I've kind of gotten out of that a little bit more. Like I'm trying, and my friends definitely help with that, to push me to more do stuff that I want to do. But then when you get to the con and you see these men, you know, googling at these little girls and, you know, whatever, and then we're over here, you know, we've put hours and hours into our costumes, and they bought something online and they're just like, you know, it's hurtful. So that is definitely one thing that I definitely like about our group is, you know, we don't care. We have a very wide range. We have straight type, we have plus type, we have younger, we have older.
We have guys.
I love our guys.
Here's a question for you. If you could wear any cosplay, anything, whether you made it or someone made it for you, or you bought it from the movie, you know, costuming that made it, if you could wear any cosplay and wear it anywhere in the world, what would you wear and where would you go?
For as long as I can remember, like the ultimate convention to me is BlizzCon. I have way more years in World of Warcraft than I had pulled into cosplay. And so when I first got into cosplay, like that was my, like, oh my god, like I could go to BlizzCon, see all the amazing Blizz stuff and cosplay, and like the costumes from pretty much anything that World of Warcraft puts out are epic. Like I can do anything. Like it would be amazing seamstress abilities. There would be so many layers to it. You would have to put in so much embroidery, so much trimmings and things like that, and still, I mean, at minimum foam work. Like even if all you're doing is like your like shoulder pieces or something, and then there's going to be props, the weapons, the staffs, the headdresses, oh my god, like it's every aspect of cosplay all in one to me. And I have a hard time, like I've never been able to like fully pick a character that I've wanted to do yet. I think what I've leaned towards the most, which I think would really surprise a lot of people, is I really want to be a Tauren. So if you're not familiar, it's like they're like cows, like bulls almost. So it would be like a cow head.
Oh, really?
And like hooves. And so it would, you know, you would have to do like the prosthetics to have like the nose and the horns, the hooves. Hoof shoes I think would be like so much fun. And they're like heftier, which would be really cool. And I just think there would be so much to that. Like to me, it would just be the most epic if I could pull off a really, really good Tauren. And I loved playing Taurens when I was in World of Warcraft for the Horde. But yeah, I think that would be like the best. But it's so hard to pick just one. But yeah, that's definitely like the top of my list ever.